is the right music. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Laker Connections, your home for all things Laker sports. It's a big week in Oswego State athletics, and we will get all to it in the next half hour. I'm Aaron Valentino.
And I'm Brian Rudman. Let's get right to it. We start the same way we always will this week in Laker sports. Aaron and I break down everything that went down in Laker sports this past week. The highs, the lows, and everything in between. So, Aaron, why don't you start us off down in the wheelhouse?
Thank you, Brian. Hockey has returned to Oswego State for the first time since March 3rd of 2020. But unfortunately for the Laker faithful, Oswego State did fall to Utica by a final score of 6-4. Some newcomers helped Oswego State out in this one, like Shane Bull and Jared Nash. Travis Broman also had a ridiculous wraparound goal in this one. Final score, though, 6-4. Their next game is this Saturday at 7 o'clock against the Canton Kangaroos. Brian, what did we see from the Lakers in their first preseason matchup of the year?
Well, listen, before we get to what we saw, can we just talk about how great it was to be back in that arena?
Oh, yeah.
With hockey being played? Are you kidding me?
Oh, it's
it was
great.
Such a great atmosphere.
Debut of the Deb.
It was awesome. It was the debut of the Deb. Oh, my goodness. But at the end of the day, Lakers, they lost 6-4, but they won the game at 5-on-5. It was 4-2 Lakers at 5-on-5. They were the better team when they stayed out of the box. They gave up 4 power play goals. There's a big problem, folks. But let's take a look at the positives. They were the better team at even strength. The forecheck was aggressive. They were a bit faster with some unbelievable individual efforts like that Travis Broman wraparound goal that Aaron mentioned. I mean, on the other hand, though, this team went to the box way too many times. 4 power play goals allowed. The penalty kills struggled just like we saw in 19. But talking to the team this week, there were 2 things that stood out. One, it was expected that they were going to commit some penalties for the new guys as the NCAA calls a tighter game than juniors. So a lot of new guys who came in, that was expected, but they also know that they have to clean things up. Josh LeBlanc mentioned to me this week, he knows if they commit that many penalties against Geneseo down the line, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is what you said. You can't be taking that many penalties when you go up against a team like Utica. If you want to make it past the SUNYAC playoffs, you're going to be playing teams like Utica. You got to stay out of box in situations like this. But the Lakers still clean it up this week against Canton. I feel confident in that.
Yeah, I do too. It should be a good one. We move to the Laker turf as it was a tough loss for the men's soccer team, falling 3-0 at home to the Cortland Red Dragons. Anthony Ruggiero led the way for the visitors, scoring 2 goals in the contest, while the Cortland defense was suffocating, allowing 0 shots on goal. Aaron, this was one of the tougher losses that we'll see this team take this year. What went wrong?
Yeah, we talked about last week how this is a game that they circled on their calendar. They lost this team 2 years ago in the SUNYAC playoffs. Cortland's a really freaking good team. They're 6-1 on the year. They're 12-2-1 overall in the season. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum last week. You got to score to win games, and that's exactly what happened for the Lakers. No shots on goal. I understand that the Cortland defense is absolutely suffocating. I understand that not only is it one of the best in the SUNYAC, but it's probably one of the best in the country as well. But you have to be able to get shots on goals in games like this. I mean, Cortland dominated in shots in general, 23. They did have 3 on goal. They made all 3 of their shots on goal. Cortland didn't even record a save because Oswego didn't get a shot on goal. You have to score to win games, and unfortunately the Lakers they didn't do that in this one. And going forward against their next 2 games against New Paltz and Oneonta, they're going to have to do it because, Brian, it's going to be winning their in, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And you mentioned you got to score to win, but in order to score, you got to put shots on goal. You got to challenge the goalie, and that's just something that didn't happen for this team. They're on a 2-game skid now, 2 devastating losses. But something's got to change. They got to switch things up, and it's got to happen fast. It doesn't even have to be on the field. Maybe it's just the way your mindset going in. Maybe it's the way you warm up. Maybe you listen to a different song on the bus before you get to the stadium. Just something. Switch something up. Get a little mojo back. Because even going back to that last win against Brockport, they only had 1 shot on goal, and that was the game-winning goal. They got to switch things up. They got to switch things up here.
Yeah, absolutely. This team's got to be feeling like a plastic bag flowing through the wind. The Oswego State women's soccer team now also played this week, taking a tough loss to Cortland last Saturday by a final score of 2-1 in overtime. The Lakers also took a loss to Hamilton College on Tuesday by a final score of 3-1. The Lakers are now 5-7 this year and 7th in the SUNYAC. So, Brian, what did we see from the Lakers in these games from this past week? 1 out-of-conference matchup and 1 in conference.
Well, let's start with that conference matchup because at the end of the day, that's the one that we're going to be taking a look at later on the line at the end of the season. And props to this Lakers team. They fought a really good fight against a really good Cortland team that this program has only beaten 6 times in program history, and they had to climb a mountain. This is a really good Cortland team, and they were down in the first half. They fought back. They were in the trenches doing the dirty work down by the goal line. They made a bunch of saves, and then a counterattack opportunity presented itself. And listen, props to Riordan and Phyllis Reed. They created the space necessary to get the goal they needed in like 80th minute or less or later, and they were right there, fought back. At the end of the day, though, Cortland just got right after him in the overtime, less than 30 seconds before the game-winning goal was scored.
Yeah, Oswego loses both matchups for the Battle of Central New York this week. And again, Cortland for the women's team is also a really freaking good team. The Lakers, again, we talked about it last week. You have to score to win, and both of these soccer teams unfortunately didn't do that. But women's soccer, they're still in the spot to make the playoffs, and we got to feel confident going into this weekend that they're going to be able to get both of these wins.
At the very least, it was a moral victory. They hung with a really good team. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Aaron and I take a look at the week ahead, previewing a simple scenario for the men's soccer team. Win and you're in. All this and more coming up. You're watching Laker Connections on WTOP 10.
I'm a lot more confident and a lot more sure of my abilities.
At Oswego is where I really found myself and became the person I am. You work hard and you play hard. I love the environment of SUNY Oswego.
Made her college years possible, opening that education savings account when she was little, spearheading campus tours, and deciphering financial aid. If you can ace planning for college, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to Laker Connections on WTOP 10. It's now time for the week ahead. Brian and I will tell you what the Laker teams are looking at this week in terms of their opponents, and Brian, possible playoff matchups. Let's get it started with some men's soccer.
Well, first of all, Aaron, I like that little point that you started things off with. It's a simple task for the men's soccer team in a sense this weekend. Win and you're in. Heading into their weekend matchups against the New Paltz Hawks on Friday and the Oneonta Red Dragons on Saturday, the Lakers need just one win to clinch a playoff spot in the SUNYAC playoffs. Seeding's still going to be up in the air, but Aaron, one win's all it takes to get to the dance.
So, good news, bad news. The good news is it's win and you're in. Bad news. You play two of the best teams.
Good news, bad news situation.
Good news, bad news situation. You play two of the best teams in the SUNYAC. That is, of course, in the New Paltz Hawks and the Oneonta Red Dragons. You've gotten to the point where you can control your own destiny, where you decide your fate in the SUNYAC playoffs. And these are the types of games where you need your absolute huge players to step up. People like Caleb Munsky, people like Slater Bushin, people like Brian Terra, who 2 years ago had a fantastic year. We haven't exactly seen that from him, but you're looking for that from him. These are two games where everybody, the whole team, not just those three players, the whole team really needs to take a step up against two really tough teams. You have to score to win games. We're going to talk about that all year with this men's soccer team. If they make the playoffs, we're going to be talking about that with them. They have to score. They have to put pressure by the net, and they have to get shots on goal.
Yeah, listen, you said it. It's simple for this team. The thing that needs to go up is their scoring. Right now we're talking about 2 goals in their last 3 games. That's not going to get the job done, especially when you're playing, the Cortlands of the world, the Oneontas of the world, and New Paltz on Friday is a tall task as well. You look at this team at the end of the day, score, score, score. Get out ahead. Score an early goal on Friday. Give yourself a little more confidence and move on with your day. Go get your win on Friday. Take pressure off on Saturday.
Yes, absolutely. Switching to women's soccer, as the Lakers are hitting the road this week to face off against none other than the Hawks of New Paltz and the Dragons of Oneonta. The women will need a little bit of help to get into the SUNYAC playoffs, as a Brockport win could knock them out heading into the weekend. But the dream is still alive. Brian, how can the women's soccer team focus on staying alive?
Well, you said it. They got to focus on what they can control. They need help from outside sources. They need a Fredonia win, a Buffalo State win, and those things they can't control. All they can worry about is going down to New Paltz on Friday and then up to Oneonta on Saturday and taking care of business. And that all starts with just staying focused and Coach McGrain leading this team and making sure they know, don't think about outside factors. Focus on what's in front of you. And on Friday, that's going to be a good New Paltz team. And on Saturday, that's going to be Oneonta, who has struggled. And if I'm being honest, if I'm Coach McGrain, you're obviously thinking about Friday. But come Saturday morning, if we're still in it, one of the things I'm worried about is thinking about what's going on in that Brockport game and not focusing on what's in front of us.
Yeah, you cannot focus on Brockport this week. You have to focus at the task at hand. Athletes have trouble with this all the time. The task at hand this week, it's going to New Paltz on Friday. That's definitely the tougher of the 2 tasks. This is a really good New Paltz team that hasn't made the SUNYAC playoffs since 2012 up until this year. Shout out to Caitlin Rawadi. But they're not going to exactly let their foot off the gas here. They want to get a higher seed. They want to possibly get a first-round bye. So they are all in on this game on Friday. And if you can get through that game, that New Paltz game, Oneonta, they're 1-10 on the year, folks. This women's soccer, Oswego State women's soccer team is talented enough to beat Oneonta on Saturday.
Right. You take care of business on Friday, you put yourself in the driver's seat with your own destiny. Finishing up with some field hockey, it's an exciting week as the Lakers have a chance to clinch a SUNYAC playoff spot for the first time ever. The Lakers will travel to Oneonta on Saturday before hosting Cortland next Wednesday in 2 games that could make or break Oswego's season. Aaron, the Lakers control their own destiny and can make some history this week. What's it going to take?
Linda, listen to me. This field hockey team right now, Heather Moore and company, are in a really good spot. That Brockport win on Tuesday was huge. They won 4-3 in a shootout, by the way, folks. A huge win for the Oswego State field hockey team. And because of that win, they now control their own destiny heading into this weekend. Oneonta is 2-10 on the year. That is a very winnable game for them. This is a field hockey team that scores. Their offense is highly talented. They move the ball around really well, and they can score, and they need to continue to do that this weekend. A really good spot for Heather Moore's club at the moment.
Yeah, listen, I think the key for this team this weekend, take care of business on Saturday against Oneonta. You have the advantage over them. They're not as good as you, and I think you need to know that. Be the boss in this situation. You're the better team. Take care of business on Saturday on the road, and that way you take the pressure off when you come back home to Cortland, because you do have a chance to clinch when you play Oneonta on Saturday.
Yep, definitely going to be a fun one. Playoff matchups, always a good time. We are going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Brian and I will take a trip down to the Wheelhouse for the Wheelhouse Wire and what is going on in Oswego State hockey this week. Don't change that channel. You're watching Laker Connections on WTOP 10.
When you are in space, you can't run down to the store to buy parts. You have to improvise with what you have on your mission. Making is when there is something new that was not in existence at the beginning of the day. Okay. It's an incredible sense of accomplishment when you have made something. That's why I make. Now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Good evening and welcome to WTOP 10 Nightly News.
Total, Baldwin faces 32 charges.
Saturday, I went to Woodchuck Saloon.
Too much temperature change.
1310 meteorologist.
2 as well. Visions from Tanner Spink.
Go to 2 and 1.
2 with 6 and 10 on the year.
Once there was a boy who did the same thing again and again. One day, he was told he had autism. He got help and slowly learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Laker Connections on WTOP 10. It's now time for the Wheelhouse Wire. Brian and I will take a look at what is going on in both men's and women's hockey this weekend. Brian, take it away.
Well, here we go, folks. After a year-and-a-half long wait, the Oswego State women's hockey team is finally back in action this weekend as they face Kings College on Friday and Newman on Saturday. Both contests will be exhibitions as the Lakers get set for the season, while the Saturday game is also the annual Pink the Rink game. Aaron, what are we looking for from this women's team this weekend?
Mark Digby went to work this offseason, ladies and gentlemen. Really, these last 2 years, because he's been a head coach of this team for 2 years now. This roster looks more full. This roster looks more complete than it has in years past. And we haven't even seen him play a game yet, which is crazy to think about. Mark Digby went to work. These exhibition games are really important for this team to get their feet wet, to kind of feel everything around. Look at the roster makeup here, folks. Only 9 returners. The men's team have 8. Newcomers, 14. All 3 goalies are new. Mark Digby, folks, went to work. It's going to be really exciting. These are 2 teams that I think they could definitely beat up on. They've beat up on them in the past. Their history is very bright. They are outscoring Kings College in their games, I think like 19-1, I think was the total. I didn't do the math because I saw that and I was like, well, they're going to crush them on Friday. But yeah, still Lakers. And Saturday, Pink the Rink, always a good time. Rocking the pink jerseys, looks fantastic. It's going to be a fun weekend for the Oswego State women's team.
Yeah, listen, I talked to them today in some interviews. They're excited, and they should be for good reason. Aaron, I think you agree with me. We're really excited about the prospects of this team. You look at them just in the returners, some really good pieces in Philomena Taggart, Aislinn McAleer, Megan Teachout, Gustafson, Comboy, and then you bring in a bunch of players who've both played Division III elsewhere, like Elmira and Nazareth. And then, like you said, Coach Digby went to work recruiting. And I'm also just excited to see Coach Digby behind the bench leading the way, right? Diane Dillon was there 2 years ago. Digby was the associate head coach. But, you know, so he wasn't completely in charge. But what we're looking for this weekend, Digby wants them to make the right mistakes. They're going to make mistakes in their system. There are going to be some chemistry mistakes. But what you don't want to see, you don't want to see them trying to do too much or getting out of their systems and, you know, making those types of mistakes that, you know, you want the correctable mistakes.
Brian and I like to say that Plattsburgh made one mistake, and that's not recruiting Megan Teachout to their team. Switching over to the men's hockey team now, the Lakers will wrap up their preseason against the Kangaroos of Canton. The last time these 2 teams matched up, the Wizard of Cos was introduced to the world, and the Lakers won by a final score of 8-2. Brian, what are the Lakers looking for in their second preseason matchup of the season?
Well, they're looking for 2 things. The first is confidence, right? They went out, they played a really tough team in Utica last week. They're looking for some confidence. They're looking for a win to gain some momentum going in to their home opener here, you know, against Hobart next week. That's a big game. They are looking for some confidence. They're looking to get rolling in what they want to do. The other thing they're looking for, they're looking to play the right kind of aggressive. Talking to Coach Gosick this week, right? He knows they made those aggressive mistakes, but he wants them to play some tough hockey. He wants them aggressive. He wants them forechecking, and he wants them being a physical team. The problem is they were making too many hits after the whistle, and they know that, and they're going to have to clean that up. But I think what we're looking for them is to clean things up, and on the special teams. Special teams need to improve. Coach Gosick said told me he didn't know why he underestimated how much this pandemic would have affected their special teams, but it really did. They gave up 4 power play goals last week. So I think that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for chemistry, you're looking for some momentum, and you're looking for them to clean up the special teams.
Yeah, this looks more like a preseason game for Lakers. I did talk to Coach Gosick today, and he said the Utica game actually did its job. They got to see a really tough team early on, and you got to see the types of teams that they're going to be facing throughout the season, not some of these tougher teams that they can come in.
Right, like Carleton Place.
Yes, that they can absolutely beat up on. They've got to clean up the special teams, which I think they will. And Gosick also said to me about that Utica game that they really kept their top 2 lines and a little bit of that third line in for the majority of the game, while Coach Gosick and Coach Whitelaw were trying to figure some things out. We're getting down to 4th.
Right, they ran like 5 lines, 4 deep pairings.
Yep, yeah.
They went deep for that.
Yeah, they went very deep into this game. But this is a game that they can win, folks. They won 8-2 2 years ago when they played SUNY Canton. And, if they clean up the penalties this week, and now the guys from junior hockey are now used to how a Division III hockey game is called. So I think there's going to be a lot less mistakes this week. And mistakes are going to happen. That's why we have the preseason.
Exactly. You get them out of the way. Listen, it's a brave choice by this Lakers team to face off with Utica in their opener. What they're looking for Canton, like I said, build the chemistry, get some momentum, score early, get the fans involved. That wheelhouse was electric when Alex DiCarlo scored, so that's what I'm looking forward to this week. That will do for the Wheelhouse Wire, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, it's Lakers Showdown. Jake Johnson joins us on the desk. We'll be right back.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Our son Arjun was born with cystic fibrosis. CF is a genetic disease that shortens lives. When the foundation was founded in 1955, children with CF rarely live long enough to attend kindergarten. Today, thanks to the foundation's groundbreaking research, advocacy, and care, some people with CF are attending college, getting married, and starting families. We've made amazing progress, but until a cure is found for all people with CF, we will not stop. Help us add tomorrows. Visit cff.org today.
Is there a danger hiding in your home? Unused opioid medicines could harm your family. Find your unused opioid pills, patches, or syrups and learn how to dispose of them safely at fda.gov/drug disposal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Laker Connections. We're back for your favorite segment, Laker Showdown. 3 rounds, 3 questions, 3 points to be rewarded. Who's going to win tonight? Brian's 2-0 on this young season. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
He's 1-0.
No.
Oh, we're counting preseason. I love counting preseason. Fantastic.
With 1 game already under their belt, some newcomers for the Oswego State men's hockey team got their first feel of the Deb and their skates underneath them. Players like Jared Nash scored his first goal. Richie Perrant played unbelievable in the 3rd period in net. And Ben Addison, the freshman, recorded his first career collegiate point. That brings us to our first question for you guys. Who was the brightest newcomer on the ice for this Laker team? Aaron, I'm going to let you start.
Yeah, let's get that clock rolling here, folks. I am going to go with Jared Nash. This is a guy that I feel can play in the center and can replace Zyzek or Passero in the middle on the 1st or 2nd line. And you know who I want him to go right in between. That, of course, is Travis Broman and Alex DiCarlo. This is a guy that comes from a D1 program at the University of Alaska Anchorage, up in Alaska, folks. Coach Gosick also went to work this year. He has 11 total points in his D1 athlete career. He had had 10 points 2 years ago. Obviously didn't play last year because of COVID, and then, of course, the Anchorage program getting taken away. But he knows what it means to have a team be so important to the community, so important to the town around it, and Jared Nash fits in with this team perfectly. He's a D1 athlete and a D1 senior.
All right. I'm going to go with the guy who actually did play in between Nash and Broman on the first line this week, and that was Tyler Flack. I was very impressed with Tyler Flack, and he's not a D1 transfer. He was making his collegiate debut, so similar to Ben Addison, he recorded his first career point, an assist on the DeCarlo Gill. He looked very comfortable out there playing with Travis Broman. He also made a very positive impact in the faceoff dot. He was 8 for 15, by far the most effective center in the faceoff dot for the Lakers this week. But perhaps the most important thing, he did not commit any penalties. Out of all the penalties they committed, and out of the mentions that they have juniors, guys who don't know how the game is called, he did not do anything. He kept his cool. He played a calm game.
Jared
I
Nash
was very
with the
impressed.
goal as well.
All right, I'm
penalties, though.
I'm gonna go with Aaron on this one. The precipitation of him being able to shoot so well in the Deb is gonna be very interesting to see. Second question here. The Oswego State women's hockey team starts play tomorrow night against King's College out of Pennsylvania. They look for a breakout year with the return of Megan Teachout, Mia Conboy, Emily Gustafson, and Aislinn McClear. The single-season point record for the Lakers is 36, set by Olivia Ellis back in the 2016-2017 season. Do you guys see any of the players for this team breaking that single-season record set at 36? Brian, you're going to start on this one.
Listen, yes. I mean, there's a simple answer to this. Yes, there's no doubt in my mind that Megan Teachout will break this record this year. Take a look at what she did her freshman year 2 years ago. 13 goals, 15 assists. Guess what that adds up to? 28 points, which is just 8 shy of the record. And she was a freshman coming into a whole new system, getting adjusted to college. Are you kidding me? Average more than 1 point per game. You can expect improvement from year to year, and she's shown that she can do it with new teams. Take a look at that. Her shooting percentage above 10%. It's insane. She gets her chances on the power play. She scored 4 power play goals 2 years ago. She gets her chances in the clutch. She scored 2 game-winning goals 2 years ago. And on top of that, when you watch her play, she just looks like the best player out there on the ice. She's faster than the other players out there. She's one of the most talented players in the new HL. And Aaron even mentioned it before we went to break. The one mistake that Plattsburgh made was not recruiting Megan Teachout.
All right, Brian, I got to get in here. Here's the deal.
She's going to break the record.
I'm going to take a little bit of a cynic answer here. I am going to go with nobody, but for a good reason, folks. Like we said in the last segment, Mark Digby went to work. This is a much deeper team. This is a much bigger roster on a much bigger stage in a year where Teachout hasn't skated in over the year. The all-time leading points scorer for a single season is Olivia Ellis with 36. No one has even really come within 5 points of her since that time, or really ever. This is going to be a deeper team this year. and it's going to be more of a team that's going to spread the wealth. That's how they're going to win games. That's how they're going to be Plattsburgh in the new HL.
How can you not believe in Megan Teachout?
It's all focused on multiple people, not just Megan Teachout.
We gotta go with Megan Teachout. Come on, she's been a leader on this team, and she's going to do it again this year.
How can you not be a believer?
It's Megan Teachout.
Take a lesson from Ted Lasso.
All right, final question here. The Oswego State women's soccer team is still in the hunt to make the SUNYAC playoffs with just 2 games in their season remaining. They sit at 5-7 and 2-5 in the SUNYAC with just New Paltz and Oneonta left to play on the road. They have been carried by their leading scorer, Grayson Madden, this year at 5 goals, followed closely behind by Liz Myers at 4. Also, the outstanding goalie play by Haley Mule has helped this team tremendously. That brings me to our final question. Who do you think is the MVP for this Lakers team? Aaron, you start.
I'm going to go with the second M in M&M. I'm going to go with Liz Myers for this one. Yes, she's second on the team in points. Yes, she's second on the team in assists. But she is the forward that everybody looks to. They're always working to get her the ball. They're always looking for her to make the big play. They trust her to make the big play. And that's exactly what you're looking for out of an MVP. She's taken more shots on goal than anybody. She's taken more shots than everybody. She's the forward scorer. This team needs to learn how to score. It's got to be Liz Myers.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than just scoring in order for it to be an MVP.
That's the biggest problem, though.
First of all, Madden's the leading scorer. She has 5 goals and an assist. She's also a midfielder, so she makes an impact when they're scoring, and also in defense. She's all over the place. That's the leader. Leads the team from the middle, distributes when she needs to, and scores more than anyone. She's the one that they trust when it comes to the penalty kicks. She's 3 for 3 on the season. She's the one this team trusts. She's the leader.
All right. Hey, it's a full moon. Aaron Valentine wins this one.
Finally.
All right. Showdown.
All right, that's all the time we have, even though I disagree with the decision. Be sure to tune in to Hockey Night in Oswego all weekend long for men's and women's hockey action, or listen on WMYO. But for now, for Aaron, Jake, and our entire crew, thanks for watching. We'll see you this weekend.